Thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak today. And I wanted to share with you some of the AppExchange goodies that I've helped to develop, and ultimately that I've kind of birthed from initial idea right through to an actual app that Salesforce users are now able to download and benefit from. So before I get started, can I just make sure that people can see the slide deck that I've got open?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect. So a little bit about me. As you may have worked out already, my name is Tom. I am a Salesforce Answers leader. I write for Salesforce Ben as well. You may have seen some of my articles around today. My latest article came out on scratch orgs. I was a judge yesterday at FlowFest. I'm not sure if anybody has heard of that event as well, but I do get around the Salesforce community just a bit. I am a 25 times certified Salesforce architect. And as you can probably tell by the way I'm speaking, not based in Canada. I am in London, in the UK. So right now here it's 5:15 in the afternoon or the early evening. And my career, and it's interesting because I'm kind of listening to what other people are saying as well, kind of started out in a similar way to some of you guys on the call. So I was originally an admin for a charity, and then I worked my way up to become a consultant for a Salesforce partner. Then I was a lead consultant for a different partner, then a senior consultant, and recently been bumped up again to a solution architect now. So feel free after the presentation to connect with me. You can follow me on the Trailblazer community. I'm quite active there. If you ever need anything, your question, and you can connect with me on LinkedIn as well. So before I dive in and start to talk about the agenda, the things that I'm going to cover today, just want to say that if there's any questions throughout, if I'm using terms that maybe you haven't come across before, or I'm talking about features that you might not understand what they are for, feel free to stop me and chime in. I don't believe in silly questions. There's no such thing as a silly question. And ultimately, we're kind of all here to learn and share. So if you ask, then you'll probably get a little bit more out of the presentation as well, because you understand things a little bit better. So without further ado, I'm going to move on now to my agenda. So I've got a couple of different apps to show you and describe. But ultimately, I'm going to start with how I kind of went through the process of getting what was initially an idea or a collection of different ideas, actually from initial concept all the way up to a fully fledged listing that you can now interact with and download from the AppExchange. I'll then talk a little bit about my auto convert lead app. And this is hopefully, as it says on the tin, an app which you can automatically convert a lead. So I know for some people, like from being a consultant and an architect, I know that that's tricky for some salespeople to kind of get their heads around. And all things Salesforce, if you can automate it, then kind of why not? You're making things easier for people. The next one is our kind of second popular app. And this is to do with person accounts. And using this app, you can do something that you cannot do natively, which is convert a person account to an account, a business account as such, convert a business account back to a person account, and convert a contact to a person account. So again, kind of things that I hear from my customers, like kind of limitations or gaps where the platform doesn't quite meet their requirements, have informed some of these ideas. And then I've just got a deck at the end to go through some other of, just briefly, some of the solutions that I've developed as well, because unfortunately I don't have time to show you all of my apps, because I'm afraid right now in a position where I've got 5 up there. So I would love to show you all 5, but I don't want to bore anybody to sleep. So without further ado, I'm going to get started and kind of explain the process of idea to AppExchange and kind of share some of my tidbits there if anybody else is thinking of going in a similar direction. So ultimately, the process of how things work is I started initially looking out for gaps in the product or things where there's a potential for people to be for the process to be more automated, or there's a gap where the product doesn't necessarily meet what the customer is expecting it to do. So I'm quite vocal on the idea exchange. I think I've got about 100 ideas posted myself as well. I answer a fair amount of questions on the answers community, and in general, I'm in and around the Trailblazer community. So throughout those things, and also throughout my customers, I start to understand where there's potential for the Salesforce platform to do things better or to do things in an automated way. So that's my step 1. Step 2 is deciding on how to build the app. I'm not a developer. I can read Apex, but I wouldn't say I can write it. So quite a lot of the solutions have been built using the point and click or clicks and code tools that hopefully most of you already know about in terms of flows primarily. However, there are a couple out there that use Apex that I got some developers to help me write. My next step is ultimately figuring out, would somebody actually pay for this? Like, is this something that would significantly like quantify some value? Is there a potential for my company, Trigg, to actually charge for this app? Something else on the flip side of that is actually understanding the fees that are in place. So there are different fees in place from Salesforce in terms of if you have a paid app or if you have a free app. So again, kind of determining pricing really kind of helps iron out whether the fees you're going to see a return or not. And ultimately right now we've decided that the 5 apps that we have that are up and running are out there for free. The next step is the actual exciting rolling up your sleeves part of building something and packaging something as well. And think of a package as a little bit like a change set. For those that have used change sets, it's pretty much the same thing, but you have to package something in a way where this solution can slot into anybody's org. So if you're using custom fields or whatever it is, all of that needs to go in your package so somebody can install it in their org and then start to use it. The next step is the security review. So this is an internal Salesforce process, and Salesforce are very strict about what goes on the AppExchange, and nothing goes on the AppExchange without their explicit consent. They review what I've built and ultimately determine whether it passes or fails. They're quite strict security requirements. So that's an important step and something to definitely build into your timeline, because that takes a couple of weeks for Salesforce to actually review what you've built and make sure that ultimately it's not going to break something when it's installed, and also high level that it adheres to Salesforce best practices as well. The next part, and I think people may quite easily be forgiven if they forget this bit, but actually creating the media for the listing takes some time as well. So I have produced like screenshots, demo videos, installation guides, and configuration guides. All of that stuff and those documents, images, videos, everything it takes a while for all of that to come together. So if you're putting things into a timeline, it's definitely useful, important to consider that. And then the last bit is pressing the button and actually making it live on the AppExchange itself. And then you can start to watch people as they install it and hopefully then benefit from your app.
So Tom, I'm going to cut in and ask a question, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
I know we talked about this privately, but so when you talk about build and package, point number 4, does the package automatically go in to Salesforce with a push of the button, or is there some parts that somebody has to configure?
Yeah, so what happens at the end of the package process, Salesforce generates a URL. And the idea is that somebody can follow that URL. They then log in with their Salesforce credentials, and then they're able to install the package from that unique URL. So it's got a package ID on the end of the URL. And then ultimately, I can give that URL out to people. They can install it. Or they can just go to the AppExchange and press on Get It Now and access the URL that way too.
But in the parts where, let's say, you have to set things up in the profile or do all those little configuration type changes to make it work for different profiles and so on like that, that's not included in the pushing the button to install it. That's something.
So there may be some configuration steps required post install. So for example, some of my packages have some Apex. So afterwards, you need to go into the profiles and give access to that Apex, because you can package some elements. So I can package the code and the test class for the code, but I'm not able to package a profile. So there is a little bit of that. And there's also some of the solutions, and this will start to come to fruition when I start to show you some of them. You have to put the buttons on the page layout to actually expose it to the users, because again, I can't pack, or in general, you can't package page layouts, because obviously they're something that's probably unique to your org. So as a result, they're not packageable. So there is a little bit of configuration for some of these ones, but that's why step 6 is important, because that includes putting together the configuration guide, which tells a Salesforce admin, a consultant, whoever it is installing, what they need to do to give users access to the solution.
And in any of these apps, are you using any standard objects and standard fields? The reason I'm asking that is some of the stuff that I have done, it's all standard objects like opportunities, accounts, contacts. And so what I've done is, and I'm wondering if I'm doing it right or wrong, but for fields that I'm adding to the opportunity, for example, I always give it a unique name, even though it might be something that it could be a common field that other people have already have used, and if they've customized their Salesforce. So I was wondering, is that something that I should be doing, is giving it a unique field name, or at least the API name?
Yeah, so what happens when you put a package, and there's a difference between a managed package and an unmanaged package, but all of these packages right now are managed, which means when I release them out into the world, they get a namespace prefix at the beginning of the API name.
Okay.
So that makes them unique. You can't package standard fields because they would already exist. But you can package your custom fields. So I don't know, if you've got an opportunity and you need some fields, then you could add those in, for example. But I think actually none of my solutions directly lean on standard fields because of the nature of them. They don't necessarily have to. But again, that's kind of a good point there in terms of like a mindset. Is my solution packageable, i.e., when somebody else installs it, is there anything else that they need to configure or fields that they need to create or whatever to actually achieve that? If it's the latter, so they need to create fields or whatever it is, then that type of stuff you can put in a package. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, no, thank you. That was good. Very good. Thank you.
Tom, I had a quick question, if I could.
Yep.
With all these managed packages that you have out in the world, how much of your work day would you say is dedicated towards responding to clients with bugs or recommendations or fixes?
Very minimal. I think I could probably count the number of cases on one hand, to be honest. I think so I've got 5 apps that are out in the world. I've had 3 cases in total, and that's in about 6 months. So the packages, and this is part of the security review with Salesforce as well, they're built in such a way that somebody can just install them and then off they go. And you have to prove to Salesforce as well that they work. So you have to install it yourself in a different org and actually say, look, I can install this, it doesn't break. And as part of the security review as well, Salesforce may actually go in and test the app themselves as well, if it makes sense. So there's got that quite stringent process in place, because obviously this is the Salesforce AppExchange we're talking about. We don't want to damage the brand of it. So in all honesty, I think, yeah, it's either 3 or 4 I've had in about 6 months. So it's very light. And there are different options as a partner or an AppExchange partner for me to support subscribers. So for example, if anybody's raised a case with Salesforce support, 99% sure they probably asked you to give login access. If you install one of our apps, you can give us login access, and then we can log in and troubleshoot. So there are some like hidden things that you wouldn't necessarily know about, but the actual volume is small. I suspect if it was paid apps, the volume, the queries would be higher. But because it's free apps and there's not that problem with like paying or subscriptions or licenses or whatever it is, that part of it is taken away. So yeah, very minimal issues so far. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you.
Do you have to provide an uninstall button to, or process that people can uninstall it, or how does the uninstall happen? Because I know people try a lot of free apps, but don't use it.
Yeah, so these apps work in a similar way or the same way to how anything else works on the AppExchange. So once you've installed, from setup, install packages, you can see exactly what you've installed. So you could interrogate my metadata if you wanted to, but quite importantly, you've got the option there to uninstall, and then there's an optional feature where you can keep the configuration for a while in case you wanted to reinstall, or you could delete the configuration as well. So there's definitely that element of it built into the package. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, perfect. So I'm quite excited to actually start showing you these things. So without further ado, I'm going to go on to the first app, dive into a little bit more detail, and then I'm going to jump into a demo. So ultimately, as I said, pretty much does what it says. When a lead meets a certain condition, you can use the tools that you may be familiar with already, such as Flow or Process Builder, but bear in mind, use Flow because Process Builder is going through phase retirement right now. And when a record meets a certain condition, you can automatically have it converted to an account, contact, and opportunity. So I've worked with a number of different customers that have needed exactly this, and some of the example use cases are actually inspired directly by them. Historically, when we did this, we had to write some code to achieve this, but ultimately this package gifts you that code so you can use it yourself. And you can optionally, like you can when you convert a lead using the standard lead conversion window, optionally create an opportunity. You don't have to, but within your Flow or Process Builder, you can configure the options and set particular conditions as well, which I'll show you in just a second as part of the demo. So some inspiration on what could trigger this. When a customer signs your terms of service via DocuSign, imagine if that's all integrated, they've signed it, DocuSign sends the signed document back into Salesforce, and then the lead automatically gets converted. I know this is quite a specific example, but it's an actual example from one of my customers. If you're using Pardot or Marketing Cloud, and maybe that's automatically qualified the lead for you, ultimately you can convert it without a sales user having to get involved. And then it could potentially, you could build on the ability for it to be assigned to a sales user and then for them to get alerted. And another common one is when an integration has passed enough information over into a lead, that could automatically trigger the conversion as well. And the last one, if you've got some sales reps that struggle with using Salesforce, of which I've come across a few, and maybe they're changing the status, but they're not actually using the conversion window. So as a result, the lead is just sat there in a converted status, but it isn't actually converted because they've forgotten to press the other button. So I'm now going to jump into one of my demo orgs, and I'm going to show you how this works in practice. So imagine I'm a sales rep and I'm looking at my leads, and these are the leads that I currently have. And my Salesforce admin has already set up the auto conversion for me. So, and I'll show you the flow in a second as well for those that are interested. As a sales rep, I go into David Monaco, I go into the details, and I've already set up my flow with a condition when the status equals converted to automatically convert it. So if I were to use the path, then the conversion window would come up and I would be prompted to do that all at the same time. But if there's something else that's happening here, maybe there's an integration or there's a sales rep that's not using the path, I want to make sure that the record still gets converted. So I'm going to change the status to closed, converted, and then I'm going to press save. So now you can see this is still a lead right now. I'm going to give it a couple more seconds, and now I'm going to refresh. So you can see that the solution has run silently in the background, and my lead is now a contact. That contact is now related to Blues Entertainment Corp. And there's an opportunity for that as well. And again, David is here against the opportunity as a contact role. So that gives you an idea of actually, as a sales user, like how much simpler or automated my life could be. But I want to show you, for those that are familiar with flows, actually in the background, how you actually do this. So here's a flow I prepared earlier, and this is a record triggered flow. So this gets triggered when a lead is created or updated. And I've been a little bit lazy here. I haven't set any conditions, but I could set whatever conditions I want here. I've then got a decision, and this is saying, has my lead met the qualification criteria? So for me, or for my business, this means that the lead status equals closed converted. If it hasn't, then the flow will take the false path and in this case, do nothing. Because my lead went through this flow and it went down this path, it then hit our code. And this is the code to convert. So looking at this, you can see I've got lots of different options here. I'm not gonna bore you to death with the details of what they do, but ultimately I'm feeding in the converted status here and the lead ID. And these are the mandatory options because we've got the red asterisks there. These other ones, they're all optional. And I can do things such as, like, I might not want to create an opportunity, or I might want to convert the lead to a specific contact or a specific account. I can do that all within the action here. So for example, if I wanted to find if there was an existing record, I could build out my flow logic to do exactly that. So that's the first app, and hopefully that gives you a little bit of a flavor into what's possible with this particular app, which is the auto convert one. Before I move on to the next one, does anybody have any questions on this? Yeah.
Tom, I have a question. If I wanted to have this functionality happen on, let's say, a list view and just be able to click a button and it runs against the list view, could I rebuild this flow and still use that Apex action? Is that Apex action usable in other situations?
Yeah, so the Apex action is a gift of the package. So you could, however, I would need to adjust the package slightly because it's only expecting one ID right now. So I'll certainly consider that for our roadmap, because right now, yeah, it will only accept one ID and therefore convert one lead at a time. But that's super valuable feedback, and let me see what I can do to make that actually the latest version of the app. Yeah.
Well, maybe I can switch the question. If I wanted to download this app, am I able to go in and make changes, create new variables, mess with it? Or is it because it's managed, locked down?
Yeah, because it's managed, you won't be able to get into it.
Got it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Is there a reason why you've used the Apex as opposed to that section in Flow?
I could be proven wrong, but I don't think there's a way to actually convert a lead within a flow natively.
Okay.
So I'm more than happy to eat my words if someone can prove me wrong, but I don't think there's a way to actually do it. I know, for example, in Marketing Cloud, you can do it specifically, call it out and convert it, but core Salesforce, I don't think you can without code.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple of questions on the actual lead record, the blue entertainment. Can you go back to that tab right there? You mentioned that sorry, can you go to another lead first of all?
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff. Okay. So if you mentioned that in the flow, you can add some more logic to if the account is there or if the contact is there.
Yeah.
Is that something that the app already does? All you do is just click on yes, I wanted to do that, and the logic's already in there, or is that something that we have to develop on top of the package?
Yeah, so right now the package is expecting an account ID within that variable. So the flow would need to fetch that ID prior, yeah.
So we would have, and so when we call it, we would have to pass on the account ID or the contact ID.
Yes.
Okay, okay. And there was another question I forgot. So let's just move on.
Okay, sure. If it comes back to you, stop me. That's fine.
That's okay.
Okay, so let's talk about the next one, and then I can show you how that one works. So for those of you that you might not have come across this, it's a specific use case for person accounts, but person accounts bring your account and contact objects together. So usually they're used by business to consumer businesses, and that's what B2C means. And ultimately, think of, for example, Tom. If Tom was in Salesforce and I'm an individual, then I would possibly be a person account rather than a business account. But if I was related to Trigg, then I would be a contact related to the Trigg account usually. So out of the box, you can't change the record type to or from a person account. So you can change, if you have different person account record types, you can change between them, but you can't actually say, so for example, if a sales rep or whoever it is makes a mistake and creates it as a person account, natively it's locked as such. You can't toggle between a person account and a business account and a contact. So with this solution, you can convert, and I always get these words the wrong way around, so I'm going to try to say them slowly, a person account to a business account and contact, a business account to a person account, and a contact to a person account. So those are all of the possible scenarios. The solution itself uses flow. And as the flow is managed, unfortunately, you can't go into the details and see my super secret working out here. But the flow checks that the account meets the conditions before it actually allows you to convert. So there are some rules that Salesforce put in place. So even though you can't convert natively, you can using code, or in this case, flow. But in order to convert, for example, the currency on the contact record and the currency on the account have to be the same. And they have to have the same owner. And there are some other conditions as well. But in the background, this runs a very meaty, beefy flow with lots of different decisions to make sure that it doesn't error. If there is an error along the way, the flow will stop, tell you what the error is. You'll be able to go back, fix it, and then run it again. And again, like the lead one, this is designed to be run on an individual basis. So there is potential in the future. Maybe I can work with my team to make this able to convert in batches, because there are maybe use cases where you would want to do that. So without further ado, I'm going to jump into my other org and introduce you to Aaron Thompson. And I've been very non-creative here, but this is a generic account that Salesforce give you. So as you might be able to spot in the top left-hand corner, Mr. Aaron Thompson is a person account right now. But pretend the salesperson has made a mistake, right? And they've created Aaron as a person account, but they actually wanted to create Aaron as a business account. And they wanted to relate him to Trigg. So from here, this is the native change record type. I can't do that. I am not able to change this type of the account. So if I use convert record type, this then launches a flow, and the flow is clever enough to work out what type of action I want to perform. And it will also present to me the different record types that I have for business accounts, and in this case, for contacts. So I'm just going to keep things simple and choose, I want to turn Aaron into a business account and a business contact. And the company name is, if I can spell, Trigg Digital. So as you say, at the bottom, we've got a little warning here that says, we're going to perform some validation to make sure everything's okay. If it is, it will be converted. If not, you'll be alerted as to what's wrong. So let's press next and see what happens. Okay, and we can now see that Aaron has successfully been converted. So to recap, I said I wanted to create an account for Trigg Digital, and as a result, I should see that account, and under that account, I should see Aaron as a contact now. So when I press finish.
Well, I was going to ask you, what if you said previous? Does it undo it?
No, I don't think. However, you can close it and run it again, which I'm about to do. Okay. So I'm pretty sure, yeah, it's unable to roll back. But as I say, just close it, run it again. So right now I've got an account, and as I told the flow, I wanted this account to be called Trigg Digital, and related to this account, I've got Aaron here as well, and any details that were already on the person account would have been copied over to the contact. Unfortunately, I didn't populate anything here, but if email address was populated, that information would be retained and would show up on the contact level. So pretend that I maybe want to undo this and put this back to a person account. I'm going to press this again, and now this knows that it's an account. So it's only given me the option to choose person account. The system will automatically concatenate the name for Aaron and make that the account name. So the flow is clever enough and designed to not ask for the name. So when I press next, fingers crossed, yeah, you can now see that it's been converted and Mr. Aaron Thompson is back as a person account. So yeah.
So a question. So if you have a number of custom fields under this account, and you're converting it to a business account and contact, is there some type of mapping you do in that to say which fields go which fields in the person accounts go to the contacts and accounts?
Yeah, so there's something in the background that Salesforce does for you in that respect. So when you have person account, it basically copies over those fields onto the account object as like mapped fields automatically. So this solution just uses that.
Yeah. Okay.
However, if I would have gone to the effort of when this was a business account and I put some information in there, for example, industry or number of employees or something like that, as part of the conversion, I may have lost that because those fields aren't person account fields, if that makes sense. They are the special mapped ones. So that is a really good question and an important consideration there. Yeah, for sure.
I've got a question for you, if that's okay.
Yeah, sure.
I worked for a lot of organizations who have enabled person accounts and then come to regret it and want to go back in time.
Yeah.
Lots. And I've tried to think my way through it and how that could even be automated. And one of the questions that keeps stumping me is, how do you identify any related records, especially when it comes to like custom objects, right? And in your solution, also, how is it reparented? Like, what's the governing rule? Does it go to the contact? Does it go to the account?
Yeah.
It's actually it's a three-part question. The first is
Yeah.
maybe this is a trade secret. How are you identifying related records? The second is there something that it gets governed to, like contact or account? And the third big one for me, has this been tested against NPSP's managed package?
Yeah, so actually, it's funny you should say NPSP. I'm going to answer that bit first. Another one of my apps has come against that package, and I have a trial version of that app, which is currently with one nonprofit, so I haven't shared it with anybody else, that actually disables the NPSP triggers, does the logic, and then re-enables them. So there is, because that app uses code, I was able to put some code in, which basically turns it off, does what it needs, and then turns it back on at the end. This one, right now, I am in a financial services cloud org. And if I was to rate the code heaviness between NPSP, Financial Services Cloud, NPSP would be first, but Financial Services Cloud would be a close second. So it's definitely tried and tested in Financial Services Cloud. In terms of related objects from our testing, and obviously we haven't tested this in every variation, every different scenario, because in effect, the account ID itself is not being changed. It retains the relationship. However, so technically, and I don't know if, can you see, I've got Salesforce Inspector here?
Yep.
Yeah. So technically in the background, a person account has a account ID, and it also has a contact ID. So because technically it's both things, when you change it, the relationships from what we've seen, and these are all of the relationable objects here, remain intact. But, and you can see here, I've got some Financial Services Cloud fields. So there are some, obviously with any of these apps and any AppExchange app, best practice to test it in your sandbox to make sure it works for your particular scenario, and ideally a full sandbox or a partial copy, because then you don't have to create test records. You've got actual realistic records there. Definitely test against realistic records. That's what I would say. But from what we've seen, it should retain the relationships because the IDs themselves aren't being changed, that it's just being manipulated in such a way that within the UI, it shows you an account and a contact rather than a person account, which is both of those things.
So if I had a person account with a child, a related record, let's say, and it gets split up and it's now an account and a contact, that related record would then be associated with both?
Depends how the related record is related. So
yeah, okay, I get it.
Because yeah, you can relate it to the account part of that person account or the contact part of that person account, depending on the field you're using, right?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I just had to think about it going the other way. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent.
A little bit of a tip here, an extra thing. And I've done this in the past, right? I've worked with a customer, we were set on person accounts. We turned it on. So past the point of no return. Just take it away from all the profiles. I mean, yes, your data model is forever changed, but the users don't see it anymore. So that's at least something, you know?
Yeah, the challenge is if it's been a year and then they realize they don't like person accounts. That.
Yeah, when there's records there, there's definitely there's definitely more of a problem. Yeah.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, so I'm close to time, so I'm just going to wrap up and quickly talk about some of the other apps. So the other three apps that I've built or my developers have helped me to build. One of them is if you're using enterprise territory management, it can be a pain that when you change certain things, your assignment rules aren't run again. So using this app, you can call your account assignment rules using Flow or Process Builder, so that if you have an automation that changes the account country, for example, you can then directly run the assignment after that has happened. The next one is for anybody out there that's using Experience Cloud. Hopefully, you kind of would benefit from this type of app, because on a contact level, this shows you the related user, but it also shows you some extra details, such as if they're active, if their email address matches the email address on the user record, what profile they have, what role they have, when they last logged in, last password change. So it gives you that true like customer 360 view, as Salesforce would say, from the contact level, without having to click through to the user and then compare the two, maybe on two separate screens. And the last one is definitely something inspired from when I was an admin. It was quite tricky to report on licenses. And from a company information, you can see or use licenses. And actually Salesforce have improved this since the app was launched. So it's become a little bit easier now to see who has got what license. But with this app, and again, unsurprisingly, it's a flow that calls some actions, but still a flow nevertheless. You can report on user license usage, permission set license usage, and we've just released a new version which allows you to report on feature licenses. So that's like marketing user, chat user, knowledge user. So you can easily see who's using what license. The app provides two custom objects, Salesforce license and Salesforce license assignee. So you can see your licenses, and then underneath you can see who's consuming which. And then as a result, you can use reports and dashboards that you all know, hopefully, how to use to report on exactly that and understand where your licenses are going. So as I say, there's lots of different goodies here, and perhaps I can share the deck after the session, because it's got the links in it to the actual AppExchange listings. Just a little plea here: if any of our apps help you or have helped you, don't forget to give them a review on the AppExchange, because then that helps spread the love, the goodness of our apps. And you can follow us online. We've got all of the social channels here, because there are some other apps that are currently still in my mind that haven't yet been built. And there are some other things that are closer to being released that haven't yet been built as well. So stay tuned for more goodies on the way. Cool, perfect. So that was the end of my session. Hopefully that was useful. And if it's okay, I'm planning to stick around and hear about CPQ, because
beginning, I'm sorry if my French accent. If you don't understand my pronunciation, don't hesitate to interrupt me. So I'm Saidani Yosra. I'm IT engineer. I have 15 years experience in CRM world, especially in Salesforce. I have 15 certification. I'm also a Paris Women in Tech Trailblazer Group co-leaders. I'm Salesforce Platform Champions, and I'm Salesforce Mentor. Here is my LinkedIn page. If you would like to follow me, don't hesitate, and please feel to follow me and Women in Tech groups. So in today's session, we will talking about Salesforce CPQ. So let's start. First of all, we will start with learn about the basic of CPQ and why we should it. Before going into CPQ details, we will compare it with the standard Salesforce code features. After that, we will present the main CPQ feature. Just note that CPQ provide other additional features, but unfortunately, we can't present all of them in the session. So today we will limit to the basic ones. Finally, we'll go through a quick demo for the main basic CPQ features. So let's start. What is CPQ? So CPQ stands for Configure, Price, and Quote. It's an extension of your CRM that allows you to create structure and scalable sales process. CPQ makes sure that your sales create code quickly and with minimum of errors and effort, and sells the right product combination. It also controls discounting and automated approval. From a business standpoint, CPQ, the CPQ added value, it's very impressive. Your sales rep spend more time selling and your company leaves less money on the tables. So why CPQ? It's important. There is 3 reasons. First, CPQ helps sales rep close deal fast. Many sales teams are stuck relying on spreadsheets and email when it's come to the final stage of their sales cycle, which means instead of moving into their next deal, the sales representative waste hours trying to configure out how the price, product, or choosing or chasing down a contract approval. But CPQ change all of that. The sales representative get their own deal-making canvas to speed up even the most complex code. The reason number 2, CPQ give company control and visibility over what's being offered and what's being sold. Without it, many sales teams operate under chaotic scenarios, sending out pricing that isn't approved and promising product that no longer exists. It becomes nearly impossible to currently track, analyze, or forecast when data is soldered in spreadsheets, for example. Finally, CPQ enable you to launch a new revenue model. This point is very important because today customers demand more flexibility in how they buy, and companies across all industries are responding by introducing new revenue model. But in order to do so, they need to implement technology platform that support them. CPQ does just that. Before getting started with CPQ, it's very important to have the right argument to make when you plan to implement the solution. Customers typically know that the standard Salesforce Sales Cloud solutions offer some quoting features, and they want to understand what CPQ offers over and above the standard functionality, I mean. So the question is how CPQ outperform this offering, and how to know whether Salesforce CPQ or standard quotation is right for you. As you can see, the standard quotation functionality starts with opportunity records. From an opportunity, we can create one or more codes. The Sales Cloud quotation let's also use sync code with opportunity so that it maintains an up-to-date price and quantity on both. Next screen. On the next step, I need to add product to my code. First, the form of adding product is very simple. I need to select product which must be independent. Your sales representative must click through your entire product list to add product they need to the code. For each product, we have set a price. By default is the price book entry value, and we adjust the quantity, and if needed, I can add some discounting. So this is the final screen of the code. So let's compare between these two solutions. So standard Salesforce code, price based on price book entries. I have a discounting, but it's a very basic discounting model. But on CPQ, we have more complex implementation. I have many possibilities to implement complex pricing model. Sure, I have to select from my price book, but I can set up many other pricing model. I have the very complex calculator engine. I have some other feature like price rule, product rules, and with CPQ, I can set up all the sales product started from opportunity, quote, order, contract, all out of the box features. And finally, with CPQ, I have the possibility to set up an advanced approval process, a bit different by the standard Salesforce approval process. The overall trend is that standard functionality provide the tools your representative need to create and generate a simple code in Salesforce. If you have a basic need, the standard code may be all you need. But if you have to implement a more complex pricing model, consider CPQ. So let's start with the main CPQ features. So as I say, CPQ offers everything mentioned above. It combines complex pricing and discounting logic to help your sales representative sales faster and more accurately. But we have to understand some functionality with CPQ. The first feature is the bundle. So a product is an item offered of sales. It can be sold individually, like the standard functionality to add product to the standard code. So sold individually as a standalone item or as component of a bundle product. Salesforce CPQ enable admin and product manager to configure various types of product offering and services using out-of-the-box features. A product bundle is a combination of several products or services that are sold to consumer as one combined product or service package. And for example, Microsoft Office, it's a package, is a component, include Microsoft Word, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, for example. Another example, a company sells the Apple iPhone package, which include the phone, the headphone, mobile case, and a pen phone, for example. So in CPQ, we have two types of bundle. The first is the static bundle. What is the static bundle? This bundle allow have the same product together in the same quantity with no change allowed. An example, imagine a BLT sandwich. We already need bacon, lettuce, tomatoes, and 2 slices of toast. Otherwise, it's not a BLT anymore. It's typically the static bundle. And the next one is the configurable bundle. This bundle can be customized to your liking with some limit to prevent impossible configurations. It's like a build your own sandwich. You choose the type of beans you want, the head of salsa, if you want or not creams. Each customer gets a sandwich with just the right filling, which are probably different from the filling chosen by the next customer. It's okay? Okay. The other features, it's option and feature is CPQ. So what is the product option? A product option record for each product is associated with the bundle product. One bundle can have many product options. The product feature is optional product option having the similar characteristic can be grouped together using a product features. One bundle can have many product features. If you go back to the example of the iPhone package, here is how an administrator will configure the bundle based on the product item grouped by feature. So in the Apple iPhone package, it's the bundle, right? So I can organize with 3 different features: memory card, headphone, mobile case. On the first feature, I can group some similar product option like ScanDisk with different size, for example, and we organize the headphone and the mobile case. Another example. So this is an example of the laptop. So the laptop is the bundle, right? In the bundle, in the screen, we have several i7 processors listed here, which are compatible with 15-inch laptop listed on the product options. So this option can be grouped together into feature for a better user experience. The features are so not mandatory, but help us to organize your option for a better user experience. So instead of having a list of all options, we are giving them the better user experience by offering them option grouped together logically under features. So the next feature to say is the product rule. So what is the product rule in a CPQ? It's like a process builder. It's like flow. It's impose the automation basic logic with if condition then actions. So we have different type of product rules. The validation, it's like validation rules in Salesforce. Selection, alert, and filter. We have 4 different type of product rule. We will show someone on the demo. And the price rule. So the P of CPQ comes from pricing, which is very complex aspect of this trade. It's crucial for you to understand the different type of pricing method before implementation your CPQ solutions. Price rule automate price calculation and update code line fields. This feature is useful if your business contain product that change in response to the presence of other product on the code. Price rule injects static value, field value, or summary variable in the code and the code line. We have 5 principal price rule type: the block pricing, the percentage of total, the option pricing override, cost plus markup pricing, and contracted pricing. So we'll start to show one by one. The first is the block pricing. So what is the block pricing? You can price a product based on several different quantity range, called by block pricing. When a sales representative add the product to the code, Salesforce CPQ check where it's fall in the quantity range and price the code line accordingly. Block pricing is useful when you sell product, for example, by pack or groups of various quantity and want to represent the pack as a single code line. For example, a pack 1 to 10 units costs $10, while a pack 11 to 20 units, for example, costs $18. This is the first pricing method. The second is percent of total. I have chosen some example from our daily life. I hope you appreciate. So this feature is useful if you want to scale product price relative to another group of product or the code itself. Let's say I order a pizza for 15 euro. The delivery service is calculated based on 10% of the amount of my order. So the delivery will cost 1.5 euro. But if I add cheese, my order will cost 19 euro. And so the delivery can recalculated on the basic of 10% and will cost 1.9 euro. I hope the example is clear. The third type method is the option pricing override. So this works only for products within a bundle. If the product is sold alone, it has a price. If it's sold in combo or bundle, it has a lower price. For example, if you buy a coffee alone, the price you have to pay is 1 euro. If you buy a sandwich alone, the price you have to pay is 7 euro. But if you have a coffee and a sandwich, the sandwich will cost 5 euro. So the price will be changed depending on the other package or bundle. Let's continue the cost plus markup pricing. It's another pricing method. Cost plus markup pricing is the straightforward way of giving sales rep some pricing control. So the sales representative has more control on the price of the product. Instead of the product getting priced automatically by Salesforce CPQ, a product starts with the base price it costs, and then the sales representative can adjust that by an amount or a percent. It's like, it's similar to what happened when you buy a house, for example. The sales representative starts with the seller price, then he can add charge for the sales, and then increase the price to get better commission. So the price will be changed and the sales representative have the pricing control of the product. The last one is the contracted price. Let's suppose, for example, that a sales representative has negotiated with a customer a special price for a certain product. For example, $200 from a tablet instead $300, and 5 discount on all product in the consumer product family. There is several options to solve this task. Either you can create a separate price book, for example, for this customer account, but this is not the best solution because it's required a lot of effort to maintain. Other solution, the sales representative could enter the collected price manually. This doesn't qualify as a good practice either because error probability is quite high. So with CPQ, we can easily implement this with the contracted price. It allows creating record related to the account pricing exceptions. So let's say if I can, for example, set up a customer classification depending on negotiation with my customer. So the cold customer will have, for example, the gold is which one? The gold will have 15% of discount, the silver 10% of discount. And it's out of the box process. So the last feature I will present you today is the guided selling. It's a very basic functionality, but it's very useful to set up. The guided selling is the way to filter based on your user input. So the difference of CPQ between the the standard code is that CPQ can easily filter the product catalog. So one method is to prompt a screen which simplify this filter by asking some question to the user. So depending on the response of this question, we can filter the catalog and just provide the needed product. We will show now on the demo. So I will share my screen to say up. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So on this demo, I'm sales representative in a company which selling computer equipment and smartphone. My customer, Dixon PLC, has just set up a new SEV department. He has requires new people to manage this new department. My customer want to buy computer for the new hires. Since I'm a good sales representative, I have already created my opportunity. So I need, this is my opportunity, so related to my account Dixon PLC, and I will create my code. It's very simple. I will just specify the end date and the start date. I will check for example, 1 year code. So my code is created. So the next step is to add product to my code. So I have edit line button, my price book, and we will start to add products. This is the configured the screen typically for CPQ. All fields are in this section are we can customize it by adding the many important field that I want to display. So I click to add product. So this is the guided setting. So the guided setting, which allow me not just, as I say, not just to sell product, but to select the right product for my customers. With guided setting, I can quickly and easy sort through a large product catalog to find what exactly I'm looking for. So this is the guided setting prompt, and the first question is, what is the product are you looking for? So I will choose hardware. So I have a second question will appear depending on my first response. So if I choose software, I don't have second question. Donc, when I choose hardware, I have the second question, which type of hardware are you looking for? So for example, I will check CPQ. I have a third question. What processor are you interested in? So for example, I will choose i7, check this, and all products are filtered by my response. So I show only the product with hardware product family and with type CPI. So I can launch again a guided setting to have other suggestion. So in my case, my customer want to buy a desktop. So I suggest, and I have the desktop appear. So the desktop computer is the bundle. Now this is the screen of the bundle. My bundle is organized by features, processor, memory, storage, and input device, output device. So on the first processor, we have some product options. As you can see, I can choose only one product on this first processor, but on the storage, I have the possibility to choose many products on the same features. I have also the optical drive as included product, and I can't deselect it. I will, oops, sorry. I have it up. So I will show you the setup of this feature. So I will go through the desktop computer. So the desktop computer is the product, is a simple product of my catalog, but on related object, we can have the feature. So on this related object, we can create some features. And if I go through processor, for example, we have just to say at minimum option 1, maximum option 1. It's enough to have the screen with 1 possibilities to choose. But if I go through, for example, the storage, minimum option is 2. So, and no maximum option. So, and I can, if I need, choose all options. I will go also through one option, for example, optical drive. The optical drive is selected and required, so the user cannot deselect it. So the setup of this different, depending on this option, it's very easy to set up. So let's go to my code. So I choose one processing, I choose one memory, I choose some, for example, some quantities, and on the output, I will choose the laser printer, for example. And now I have the configure appear. So what is it? Is another bundle. So I have a bundle into a bundle, because on the laser printer, I can choose other processes. So the printer toner, for example, is an included product. I can deselect it, but I can upsell my code with other products. I will save my code. I think it's okay, and I will click to save. So this is my code. I can reconfigure my code with this button. I have some product included. So this product, the cost of this product is automatically 0. But if I add this product without the bundle, the price will be different. So this is my bundle. So the desktop computer with many options. I have laser printing with some options. So I will click to quick save. No, so I have a message. This is a simple product rule. The system show me a message. It's just alert. It's the product rule with type alert. The company best practice recommended on this case the sales representative to sales insurance product with desktop or with hardware product. So we can use the alert rule to remind the user, for example, in this case, to add and to add damage insurance because it's a recommended product. So good idea. I will add product, and I will, for insurance, for example, accidental damage, up, select. So this is my product. As you can see, this price is it's not the product, the price book entry. For example, if I change the quantity to 2, quick save, the price will be changed. So why, I will go to the insurance product. So the pricing method of this product is percent of total with 10%. So when I add this product, the price will be automatically updated with 10% of the total of my quote. So it's very simple to set up this type of product. I will show you another product. I think I set up Wi-Fi, oh yeah, Wi-Fi access product, for example, to show you another type of product rule. So the Wi-Fi is cost 16 euro, but as a sales representative, I have some field that allow me to change the price and to have the possibility to put the cost. For example, I will change to 100 euro and I decide to have 20% of markup, calculate, and the price will be updated. So $120. This is a cost pricing method on this code. Quick save. So I have my code with different pricing method. It's very simple to set up this different price and different pricing method to my code. And just the last, my customer is going to recruit the field agent. So I managed to convince him to that computer are not enough, and that's probably useful to buy, for example, tablet. Donc, I will add tablet product, and we'll show you the last pricing method. For example, this tablet. So this tablet is got 150 euro because I'm on one item. If I change this to, for example, 14, if my customer will decide to buy customer for a tablet for all teams, quick save, the cost will be changed to 100. Why? I will show the tablet. Sorry, tablet product. So the pricing method is block. It's very simple, and on related objects, I just put that I have different range. If I take the first, so the lower bound is 0, the upper is 9, so the price is 150 euro. But on the next range, the price will be changing to 100. That's all. And the product will be calculated depending on the quantity. So I think this is the five product rules that I want to show you. Quick save. So this is, and we can click to save, and my code is finished. I have different products. CPQ can automatically calculate all products with different pricing method. That's I have two buttons, preview document and generate document also. CPQ have a native document generation with a template. I can generate a sample template. I can generate a sample document with information of my account, a list of products, the term and condition if I need. So it's very simple to implement it and to download these documents. So I will also show you the guided selling, because it's very simple to implement the guided selling. Sorry, it's It's a code process. Code process. So this is my code process. And with process input, for each process input, I put my question and I set up the filter of my catalog. For example, I have the list of family to filter by product family equal to the product family on the product records. And I can put my third question. And for the second question, for example, I have the process input condition. That means that the second question appears if the response of the first question is hardware. So all of these features, all of this implementation from a complex pricing on CPQ, it's all out of the box. It's very simple to implement it. Other feature, the discount, Salesforce CPQ provide the possibility to have the discount in percent and in device. So I can different possibility to have some discount, and CPQ is calculate it without any other custom process. So this all of me. This is one part of CPQs. We have many other features on CPQ. Today we have just present the code process of CPQ. CPQ can also transform this code to order, and the order can be contracted. We have to create automatically a basic contract. The contract can be a renewal or amended with a full out-of-the-box process.
So question for you.
Yeah.
So when you got this all configured, did you follow some trailhead training to?
Yeah, I will show you the last slide. Up. I created a trail mix on Trailhead. I invite you, so if you are interested in learning this model, it's cover all CPQ feature you need to know, and you have also some project at the end. I also show you this article. It's very very interesting, the article with how I passed my CPQ specialist certification in 40 days with many tips. And I have also suggest you the Apex Hours learning class with many video that cover all CPQ features.
That's great, thank you.
I would second that. I really like that Apex Hours video training. I know I like learning by watching videos. It's a good way for me.
Yeah.
And they did a good, I think they did a good job. There's a lot of detail, a lot more detail than you'll see in a lot of other trainings. I think it's like 15 videos. There's a lot of detail.
Any questions?
So can you go back to the opportunity, go back into your demo mode or demo org? So under the opportunity, just can you show us what they see as the user from a coding perspective?
Go to the opportunities?
Yeah, so there's the quote right there, okay.
So
And do they show they don't show the products, so it's different from that perspective. Is it in the, if you were using the quoting tool that's out of the box Salesforce, you would see the products, but with the CPQ, you see just under the quote. Is that
you know
correct?
what it is? It's not set as a primary. Yeah.
Okay. Sounds like your kids want you to get off the phone.
Yeah.
What time is it there now? 6? No, 7. Almost 8 o'clock.
Almost 8, yeah.
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 Yeah, sorry, I have a question, if I may. Yeah, you said that we did not see all the features related to CPQ, but is there any feature for reporting, or it's a different? There is a different way to produce reportings?
No, CPQ don't have reporting is a different part in Salesforce in general. So we have the standard Salesforce CPQ, standard Salesforce reporting features, or you can use if you need other complementary feature like Tableau, like.
Okay, thank you.
I will say that CPQ has so many objects, so many standard objects. That's really the way that CPQ is structured, which is kind of unusual for an app. Like all the, what you might think of as settings, has all the details behind it are all in records. So you can actually report on a lot of what's happening in CPQ because because it's all data, it's not metadata. So that is one way that it affects reporting.
Yeah.
Okay, clear. Thank you. Sorry, it was maybe it was a silly question because I'm not a Salesforce SME. You know, I'm discovering. Thank you all.
Thank you, Farif.
Curious if you've seen CPQ integrated with SAP's product engine to get the product details and then to submit the order or the contract back to SAP. Have you seen that in your travels?
Yeah, I think it's very useful, and many companies start with setup CPQ, and finally they need to complete the sales process to sending some information to SAP, for example, to complete the billing process.
Is there standard interfaces between Salesforce and SAP to support that, or is that a custom built?
It's custom building. We have some tools like MuleSoft, or using the API, or using web service, depending on your business need.
I've got a quick question for you. As somebody who tried the CPQ exam 3 times and finally passed, how is it like in reality of actually training customers on this? Because as other people have said, there's so many objects and things going on in the background. This is all driven from your records, not from your setup, from your records. Yeah. So how in practice does it work with like training customers? Do you find customers are able to take the system on and own it going forward, or do they need ongoing support? How does that work?
I think if your customer needs to set up some standard CPQ functionality, like the different pricing model, some simple price rule, it's very easy to handle on this solution without supporting. But because, as you say, it's a data, the price rule, the product rule are records. It's not the metadata process. But if your business need, it's very complex, you need to have some helps, because it's not easy to implement some complex price rule, for example. I don't know if I respond to your question.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That makes perfect sense. Yeah, thank you.
I would say as a customer, because I'm a customer, and we had a consultant work with us to implement CPQ, but because I'm a very hands-on kind of admin and I want to know everything, I asked if I could actually do a lot of the implementation. They would just tell me what to do. and I would do it because I knew that once they left, then I had the idea that like things are not going to change once you leave, like that's ridiculous. The very next year, we made all kinds of changes. We changed some of the product structure. We changed the price. We came up with new pricing methods. Like there's all kinds of new things that happened. So I think I think it depends on the admin. The kind of admin support you have, and if you have admins who are steady and are going to be learning, then it's good to actually have them do some building so that they get some hands-on experience.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I have to give you full marks for all the little samples with the pizza and all. That was actually good. That was actually an interesting way to present it.
Yeah, those definitely those visual presentations definitely help to understand how this product bundle all these things work.
Yeah, I think it's more simple to have some example for the real life, like sandwich, pizza.
But I don't know if the prices are realistic. They are sushi.